everyone, welcome to On Nutz Reviews in a Nutshell. I'm Michael, and today we are going to be reviewing Independence Day Resurgence. So the way I'm going to do these reviews is I'm going to give you the in a nutshell. Say you're headed straight to the theater right after this. You need to just know right now whether or not it's worth your money. So in a nutshell, Independence Day Resurgence attempts to recreate the charm of the first film, but due to the terrible dialogue and plot, it fails miserably. First, I'm going to take you through the good stuff. So here's some of the good stuff in the movie. It's far and few between, but there is some good stuff. I am a huge fan of the first Independence Day, so seeing some of the old characters was cool for a little bit. After a while, it kind of felt forced and they weren't really necessary. But Goldblum and Pullman, they reprise their roles and they do a fairly good job with the writing that they're given and things like that. And they seem to be the only characters that are somewhat bearable in the film. However, nothing they do is able to save this. One of my big pluses for this movie, and I don't know how they did it, I guess when you have a big enough budget, anything's possible, but the CGI was great. Throughout the whole film, the CGI held up very well. There was only one scene in particular where I was able to say, oh, that's pretty rough CGI, and it was on a screen, like a tablet that somebody was holding in the movie, and so it was very easily, you could easily say, oh, well, that, it happens. So, but I was very surprised that throughout the whole movie, the CGI seemed very good, whereas other parts of the movie just failed, and so that was nice to see. There weren't a ton of fun moments in the film, but I will say that the climax was definitely one of the more fun parts because of the battle, and it's one of those big epic battles, and it really harkens back to the original, not the original, but the first film with the way that they do it, but even then it's still just okay. So now for the bad stuff. Independence Day Resurgence is just a bad movie. There's no other way to put it. Plain and simple, this movie is not good. The main things that it suffers from is the writing and the plot. However, there's also many other factors. First off, the writing is mediocre at best, and at its worst, it's just atrocious. I don't think I've ever rolled my eyes as much as I rolled my eyes during this movie when people would say cheesy one-liners, or they would just say lines that just didn't fit at all, or were just poorly written jokes. That in turn threw off the entire tone of the film. There were times where it would try to be funny, and then all of a sudden there's a character crying, and you're supposed to sympathize with them, but the tone shift was just too harsh. So a lot of times I just didn't really care for the character. And sometimes the one-liners and stuff would be so tongue-in-cheek that you felt like it was almost a parody of the first film, or of any like alien invasion film, but it's not. And they solidify that by having these really deep, or trying to have these really deep, emotional moments that just don't work, because first of all, there's too many characters, so you don't really get to know any of them except for the ones that you knew from the first film, and even them, they're not used correctly. The filmmakers would try to make you feel sympathetic towards these characters, but none of the characters feel real, so you don't sympathize with them. Not once did I feel anything for these characters, simply because there were far too many characters and none of them seemed real. I have a pretty tough suspension of disbelief. It takes a lot for a movie to destroy my suspension of disbelief, but this movie completely shattered it. Many times the plot just didn't make sense. Characters would do things that were just stupid, and no human would ever make those decisions or do what they did. And it just seemed like it was to push the plot. The plot was predictable, and there were times where it was just boring, which is a shame, because the very beginning of the movie, I actually thought, oh, this might be decent. It started off fairly strong and really kind of built up, and then it was just like, all of a sudden, it just fell apart. At times, it seemed like it was trying to copy the first film, but then it would try to do its own thing, and then other times it would try to do things like the first film, but just up the ante a little bit, and you could tell, and it was forced. It wasn't natural. That would be the best way to sum this up. The movie just feels unnatural. Nothing happens naturally. It's all kind of forced. And a lot of times the plot's so over the top, even so more so than the first film. Whereas in the first film, you kind of passed it off because you had these charming characters like Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith, and Bill Pullman, who were able to kind of rein in those really far out there plot points and able to reel them in, whereas in this movie you don't have that. So these over the top moments feel over the top. Bonus bad thing, there was a perfectly good opportunity for Jeff Goldblum to repeat the line that he's said in many films of the one where he says, "Must go faster, must go faster." It happens in Jurassic Park and Independence Day. However, he does not say it, and it's the perfect opportunity, and it made me so mad. Easily could have interjected that in there, and it would have upped the score a little. Well, maybe not the score, but it would up my feeling toward the movie a little bit. But no, they even messed that up. So with each film I watch, and this is a terrible one to start video reviews on, but with each film I watch, I give an Oscar to somebody that I think their performance outshined everybody else, or it was a powerful performance, or something along those lines. Well, there's not a ton in this movie. If I could, I would just give the Oscar to Will Smith for passing this film up and realizing that it was probably not the best choice. But since that would break my own rules, I guess I'll give it to the CGI animators, because they don't get a lot of credit even if the movie's good. The CGI animators do their best, and usually they put out work that you would never even know exists. And this film, while everything else is pretty much bad, this film, the CGI was good. And so I guess if I had to give an Oscar to somebody that helped with this film, it would be the CGI animators. Now it's a part where I recommend or do not recommend this film, and I do not recommend this film to anyone. I'm sure out there somewhere there's somebody that would enjoy this movie and would have fun with it and all that. I'm not that person, and I don't think most people are that person. Even if you're a fan of the first film, I beg you, please do not go see this movie. Just simply wait for it to come out on Redbox. There's no reason to even see it in the theater. There's nothing that's gonna be detracted once it goes to DVD. Just wait for it to be out on DVD, pay $1, and go see it if you really, really think you'd enjoy it. Also, if you have a hobby where you just take $10 bills and you burn it, then I would recommend it to you, because at least you would get something for your $10. Okay, time to give my final score. And my final score for Independence Day Resurgence is 4 out of 10. It's just not up there. Some people might enjoy it, I didn't. But that's my final score, 4 out of 10 for Independence Day Resurgence. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment below. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think of it. If you haven't seen the movie and you just kind of want to discuss it, leave a comment, like this video, and if you want to see more like this, subscribe. Maybe I'll make more. Who knows? You don't control me, but subscribing is very persuasive. So, thank you very much for watching, and see you later.